Hey everybody, how are you doing? It's me, Talent Joseph, Managing Editor at the Indigenous Business Association, and welcome to our next media day. These things are just like unfolding, so it's a lot of fun, and it's pretty crazy with all the stuff that we're doing and putting out there. So, if you haven't been hip to it yet, I'm going to turn you on and say, go to the website, IHHBA.org, Indigenous Hip Hop Business Association. That's the website, IHHBA.org. So you can see all the different things that are going up there. The content's up there where you can follow us on social media, the campaigns we have going on, so you can involve with it. If you're a business or an artist, there's ways, our services are up there, so you can, see what it is that we provide and help you with, to get your company going in the right direction. And we're gonna have a new events page that's gonna be coming up as well. So because the Sacred Cipher tour that Rich is gonna be on is gonna be up there, and it maybe I'll have some things in the mix that looks like I might be doing some small things, so I'll probably put them up there as well. Once I get permission, I know that like they're actually going through. That they're not just like just not just talking the ear right now. But definitely, the events that are going on with the Sacred Cipher that'll be starting here in August and going all the way through, which will be February of next year. So a lot of things are that are happening and taking place. Um, well, that tour is actually going to go through August to November, and then we're going to have a couple of months off, and then we're going to jump back in February, and then going into possibly in March as well. We're looking at some dates there, so some things are happening and moving. So go and check out the website ihhba.org. Make sure you subscribe, follow, share, and comment, and you can definitely do so here on the Substack as well. And make sure you know that you just drop it, together with everybody. So this one's going to be different. Um, I know I drop all kinds of different things on this all the time, but this one should be a lot of fun because I did a talk a couple of days ago on native reggae, and I mean, truth be told, in all transparency, I'm not a reggae fan. I never really got into it, and I taught the class a number of different times. So I taught the history, and I had to learn a lot about reggae, right off the bat and from scratch. But I never really took to the genre. And I think I was thinking about that earlier today, getting prepared for all this and what I was talking about. And I think it comes down to something that I just have to be really honest with you. There was a guy that I was in grad school with who was like totally deep and immersed in the reggae culture. I mean, the guy was like heavy and big and deep into it, right? And performing all the time and whatnot. And he was, really active. And people just turned to him, and he got like a ton of accolades. Just like the guy could never do anything wrong, and I think a lot of it was just jealousy and pride. It's just like, dude, I just can't stand you. I wish I could, I didn't have it. I wish I didn't have to be in classes with you. I wish I really didn't have to do anything, around you, because it just gets in the way and it gets my goat. Like anything the guy could say, he could literally say, like, Mary had a little lamb, and they'd be like, oh, it's like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, it was that kind of a guy. Do we all know somebody like that, right? Somewhere along the line, you've hit somebody like that, and it was just ego and pride, really. I just, and envy. I mean, there's definitely a level of envy with it, and he was so deep into reggae that when I had to deal with it, I was just like, I don't even go near it. And I had to perform with the guy, a few different times, in the reggae environment, right? So, he got all the solos, he got, all this stuff. People were just like dripping over him. The worst one, though, I'll tell you, adding insult to injury and, the salt to the open wound, was that I had a team teach a class on reggae with him. Yeah, you can imagine how that one went, So I was just like already like, I want, no, I'm staying. No, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go into it. The other thing was because I was really starting to format and develop my chops into hip hop and what was going on there. I was very entrenched in like a lot of other musical genres. They were going on at the time. I couldn't see the connection, and it was really hard for me. And it wasn't until really recently that, I mean, really recently, that I was like, okay, I gotta give this a little bit more of a fair shake. And then being dropped the bomb saying, okay, by the way, you're talking about native reggae today. It's like, what? It's like I know about it, and I know, the different artists, that that come up with it and whatnot. But I was like, why now? And it really was to push me out of the box. It was really to kind of get me over that hill, and somebody was like, okay, suck it up. You had plenty of time, put your ego in check, get out of it. That time is over. You both have moved on. You're doing different things. Let it go. It's there's no reason to be holding on to that same, toxicity. Just get over it. And all right, so I did. And so I was looking at it and then listening to it, and it's like, okay, since I got to talk about native reggae, what are some good stuff that's going on? And Casper, oh, I'm gonna butcher his last name, Lamas. Oh, I don't even want. I don't, it's Casper L. If you just want to remember his name, but Casper is what he goes by. He's like the dude who like qualified and like hooked into what is, of roots reggae for Native people, as well as the band, Native Roots. They're the other one, and that's a duo, an electronic duo, from the Navajo Nation. And then Casper is too. He's Navajo as well, Navajo and Hopi. But it comes out of the deep South. I mean, it's really a Southwest style, which is very interesting. And there's a relationship with it, drum style way, because I was thinking about this with the hand drum, the frame drum, and specifically the round dance song, the round dance style, because there's a little skip that's in there. And with reggae, it has that chunk, right? It has that upbeat, that chunk that's lifting off of the ground, that gives you that light, that levity that makes you want to like bounce up and down. The themes and the messages inside of reggae, it hits a strong point with Native people, because it really comes out of a resistance, situation to the impoverished, oppressed nature situation of Jamaica. Um, it has it's an African diasporic music for sure, and it was hyper compartmentalized, inside of Jamaica, and then using and taking, the electronics that were available in the place and the space, and then recontextualizing those, and then it's a dance hall style, where the rude bois, culture brought it up, and you had your DJs and your MCs. The DJs would play these tracks and then spin, the segments, for a long time, where the MC could then, speak and talk over it, because it was a talkovers, is what they originally called, the MCs. And they were just the hype people. They were the ones to hype up, the people to, to dance more, to drink more, to have more parties and stuff, and just to, get away from the oppressed nature and the environment that they were in, at the places in time. So there's a lot of overlap, culturally, that reggae would have with, and be very attractive to Native artists, in that kind of a sense. Musically though, I just never wanted to get into it. I just was like, man, it doesn't do anything to me. It doesn't resonate to me. So I looked back and, was really kind of, trying to think about, things from a different perspective, and taking, another whiff at it. And Mr. Chief, was brought back up to me, and I was like, oh yeah, I haven't really given the guy a fair shake, haven't really given him a fair listening. So from yesterday all the way to today, I've just been listening to, a ton of his stuff, and checking him out, and researching it, and hearing his interviews. The guy's got a lot of good interviews, and what's his background story? Convince me. It was that kind of a thing, because I did the talk on Monday, and I was, I had to put together a profile, and a sound list, a playlist, to go along with it. And I was like, but I need to do something deeper, so it's like, that I got through that was kind of cool. People were like, dude, this is like awesome, wow, this is really amazing, and they would never even known that I had this twisted history with the genre. But I really wanted to profile him for my tracks for the day, because it's what I'm listening to right now, and just kind of, bring him up, and and share a few little things and some thoughts, and talk about what's going on. But the more I was listening to him, and his background, his story, and whatnot, and he's in being, a mixed Indian person, His dad was an FBI full-blood Indian, and his mom, really got him into reggae and was really kind of supporting him, really kind of pushing, if that's the direction he wanted to go. She was really the proponent to help make that happen. It's just I needed to kind of, to bring it out. It's so I did drop an interview down below, so you can take a look at that. And it's not too terribly long, but it's a really good. I mean, he gets into some good things. The interviewer is horrible, but his responses are good. When he does have a chance to like actually talk. And he gets his brain wrapped around what are the comments and the questions. So by like midway through the interview, it's like he's on fire. He's like really moving. He's sharing lots of good content and stuff. Like over the beginning of it, he's kind of shaking, getting things moving, but that's understandable. I mean, it's at a live event, where he's doing it. I didn't put up the videos of him, where he was at Gathering of Nations. Um, and some of the other big events and things, I had to be really kind of selective of what I put up there, and we'll listen to a couple of them. But his live performances are really interesting, and that's where he really comes into his own. I did give you his YouTube channel, so you can take a look at his work there. But if you really kind of want to get an idea of what he does, I mean, check out his live presentations. There's a reason why he has very few studio videos that are put out. And that I guess is economically, there's some challenges there, but the live ones are really nice. They go in some different directions, and they help showcase him in a good light. I like those and I appreciate that. I did drop one down below, which is good. But I want to take a listen to this track, which is not on the list, Apocalypto, and you'll get an idea and see what I'm talking about. Now, this one is really roots oriented reggae. Okay, so when you listen to it, you're like, dude, why would you even think about this? But I'm going to back up and play another one, and you're going to hear his melding in his use and style of hip hop and his hip hop qualifiers inside the reggae canon, which I found very interesting. So as I said, I didn't give him a fair shake. So let's just check this one out. So this is Apocalypto. Okay. So and then it goes on to the guy who's featuring, and his comes in again a little bit later. But when you watch oh, you didn't see you're not gonna see the video because I didn't put the link in there. Maybe I'll drop it in before we take off. It's interesting because he's wearing what is it, the hockey jersey, for the Indians, um and then just the spray painting of like the terms I don't know more. I mean, it's really, and if you listen to the lyrics, he calls out custard that's inside of there. He talks about, because it's about about the demise of Native people is what the song is talking about. It's about the apocalypse and apocalypto of Native communities. So it's all about genocide. It's about the American genocide. And so I mean that's what I'm talking about. His stuff is it's subtle, it's nice, it really has some good points here and there. It's going to be on the playlist. So any of these tracks that you hit, you're going to be able to catch it and see what's going on. The thing I don't like about it is that the other guy who comes in takes up like a big space in between, and I didn't like that. it's like, come on, dude, I want to hear your stuff. I want to hear and see you. So that was what I was looking for. But I'm gonna play another track before we get out of here. Because he has some really good ones, and this one's very cool. Uh, uh, it's Rise, and it's the live, it's a live one. So I want to play this so that way you can get a chance to kind of hear what's going on. And there's two other guys that are rapping before him, and he comes up at the very end. So I'm probably gonna have to like jump it a little bit more forward so you can hear it. But you're gonna get a chance to kind of see what I'm talking about the melding of hip hop style and a reggae. And this is what I found very interesting. So just check it out for a little bit. Okay, so that's not him, but at least you get a chance to see what the style is. So I'm going to jump it forward where he does come in, because his stuff is really nice. So we're going to jump forward here just a little. Yeah. You see what I mean? He doesn't have to do a lot. It's like so tight. His stuff, it has that. It's really compact, it's dense, it's all in there. It's really his live stuff is like off the hook. I love it. It's and he does calling in some of the other artists to work with him, is really kind of tipping his hat to what, hip hop style does, because it's you got to have some kind of reference and relevant relationship to the community, as well as in coming out of the cipher, culture, and in that kind of a sense. But when he's bringing in, and when he works inside of here and in the live area, and even the stuff that he does solo that's live, it's you hear him in his element, and I really appreciate that. I mean, that's because sometimes when you hear artists who are doing it, they're so overly polished. It's exactly like the same way you hear it on all the different records. And when you go to his channel, you can see some of the different tracks and things that are up there. There's one that he does a lot. It's called "That's My Native." I'm not really a big fan of it, just because of the way that the hook is set up. I get it. It's a cool track, but I mean, I'm just like, it's not really on my top five if I was to call it a piece from him. But when you hear it in all of its different forms, in all of its different lights, it takes on a different perspective when it's live versus when it's the recorded version of it. And you're gonna think, oh yeah, that's normal, that's what's supposed to happen with it. But in today's age, when you go to a concert, you want to hear things the way it's done on the record. You don't want to hear a lot of these live things, or at least we don't. It's like, wait a minute, you're doing something different to the track that I love. Why are you doing that to it? And he goes for it. And but I appreciate that, because that kind of shows that he has a craft. He's working on it. He's honing it, He has no fear to like step outside of his own boundaries. It's a bold move and it's a really nice one and it fits him very, very well. So take a look, take a listen. I gave you all the stuff that's down there. His YouTube channel is really nice. It's got a lot of different kinds of things. I gave you a long, expression from one of the interviews because the interview did a really good job, I think, about giving you some background information about him, and hopefully we're gonna have him on one of our podcasts in the future because we're trying to line that one up because it'd be nice to like actually get him under wraps and then and actually ask him some good questions and give him a chance to like answer honestly rather than having some chump ask him just some canned questions that you know he could have done better. The interviewer was just horrible, but his responses are nice and on point. So check it out. It's good. So, Mr. Chief, man, we're gonna give props to you for what you did. So thank you very much. So that's me. It's Alan Chusa, the managing editor at the IHHBA, sharing something that's really different, but also brings it back to light. So I dig it. And for all my hip hop heads out there, this is then this kind of puts a twist on the indigenous internationalism of the discourse of hip hop. So follow, subscribe, share, and comment. We want to see you all. Go to ihhba.org, ihhba.org. You can hit everything up there. Make sure that you definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're putting content up there all the time that's going through. Get on our Substack because you can see all the articles, all the podcasts, and all of our past media days are there, as well as they're copied on the website as well. So keep it up. Share with everybody, and let's see those numbers really kind of rise and make it happen. So it's me again, Alan Lachusa. Blood, sweat, and pray every day. No track left unheard.